I'm Cynthia Trejo with Her Element Network and also Real Talk, a digital talk show for women where we have real conversations about life's challenges, triumphs, and experiences. And today we have Lila Melendez, who is the CEO with the Workforce Borderplex Solutions, a subsidiary of the Texas Workforce Commission. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So the reason why we are interviewing Lila today is I actually ran into Lila. I met her at another conference, and she mentioned something within the conference that really resonated with me. And the conversation revolved around COVID and the things that we've have experienced over these past 2 years. In what she shared, she mentioned that we are still in this together. And that is what really resonated with me. I wanted to have a conversation around that today, and the things that she is working and experiencing through this with the workforce. Do you want to go ahead and share a little bit about that?
Sure. So thanks for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
And the conference that we were speaking at, we were talking primarily around the impact of COVID and what that did to our society,
Right.
and from a public health perspective, and from an employment and economic perspective. And this was earlier in the summer, and even then, it's been a very disruptive 18 months. But what the point that I was trying to make is that I don't feel that there's been like an end to it.
Right.
COVID is still, and even since then, we've had this surge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those are the lessons that we keep learning throughout this whole time. Last year when we were all in quarantine and nobody was going out, and there was we had to connect to one another was technology, through TV, through video, through phones, through social media, and that was the way that we kept encouraging and supporting one another. And a big theme that we kept hearing was, we're all in this together. It's okay if you're struggling. It's okay if you're not quite sure, if you're scared. All of these things, we're in this together, because we very much felt all of that together. And as we have this desire to return to what we think was a normal life, there's still a lot of that uncertainty. And I think I want to remind people, and especially the people that I work with and the customers that we are helping, is it's okay to still have that uncertainty. We're still going through this. We're still together. We haven't finished, or we're not done supporting one another. I think that that's a big lesson that we need to keep, is we should always be supporting one another and always feel like we're in this together, whatever that may be. And so that was the point of that message, and I've brought that with me here at our office, at our work, as we are stumbling into, is it in person, is it work from home, is it hybrid, is it every day? We're not quite sure. We still have technical issues with connectivity and at the office, and then when we think we're getting back into rhythm, boom, we get another surge, and so it's still this sloppy, messy thing. And some of us, I personally, I'm still struggling with my routine. Mm-hmm. I remember myself pre-COVID, and I'm trying to figure out who I am post-COVID. Right. I can't find my routine. I can't find my schedule, my style, I'm still messy. Mm-hmm. And but that's okay. That's okay.
Yes,
yeah.
It is okay. COVID really created a lot of change. It just flipped things around, and we're still seeing that, even in the workforce, right? I think this is where we're seeing the biggest change now, is what's happening within the workforce, where businesses are really struggling to retain employees, to hire employees. We have restaurants and retail and businesses that are service related that are short staffed. Especially in the restaurants, you just have to be patient, because there are no, they're struggling. And so this is another area where, we're in this together. We're still in this together. Things have flipped where, now it's affecting the employers.
That's right.
And so I know you don't have a solution to this, but what are your thoughts on this, and how we can move forward from this?
I think what's helped me and what continues to be helpful for us as an organization, because I'm also an employer, I have a team of 48 people, and we have had to just be very honest and open and transparent with what we want, what's important to us, and those things are different now. Our priorities are a little bit different. And for some of us, some of those priorities are vastly different, because some people experienced loss during COVID. Some people experienced illness. Some people experienced, economic hardship. And so all of those things are now making us reevaluate our lives.
Yes.
And I think bringing those to the table is important as an employer. I remember, and I think back to myself pre-COVID, and as I was starting my career, and some of the advice that I've heard, especially for women, is you keep your home at home,
right,
and not bring your home into the office. And that's just how I went through the career. But I don't know that was ever how realistic was that? Right? I don't think that ever was realistic. And especially now, I don't think that that's necessary anymore. I think we need to bring both of those things to light and just be very open and honest about who are you as an organization. And that's really what people, because employees are people, people are now wanting a sense of belonging and not just a job. We want to belong to organizations, belong to a community, belong to a family. And I think that those are the conversations that employers can have, is what is it about the organization and the purpose and the mission that they do that is connecting with the employee, and that is going to allow them to connect to the customer. So I think that values are very much, those are things that you should talk about as a company. You are, just like a home is an organization and a church is an organization, all of those things have values. That's very important for a business to have as well, because that is what employees will bring. They will draw out and from themselves and from the organization. So I think starting with that is where then the business and the employees together organically can come up with what works for them. And that's an ongoing conversation. That isn't something that is had today and then never again. It's right. Something that you are it's a constant.
It's evolving.
It's evolving. Right. You evolve, right. and you include everybody into that. And there isn't, like you said, there isn't just one solution. I think it just really has to make sense for that organization. But it really does start with, what's the purpose of your organization to begin with, and then you lead from there. But that has been my suggestion to other employers or businesses that say, what are you doing? How did you do this? How did you do that? Well, I can tell you how I'm doing this, but the reason or how I came to that point was because we talked to one another and we thought that these were the things that were important to us. That's what's important to us. That may or may not be important to you and your team. But you need to start there.
Right. This shift has it's been a global shift, right? We're a community now globally. And so these changes that you're speaking of, don't only revolve around your organization. It's
the world.
It's the world.
Yes.
Right. When we think of a small business owner, right? Even someone who maybe have a restaurant, those conversations are going to be a little bit different because your why for the restaurant is going to be something very different than from an organization who has,
sure,
several hundred employees. How would what would be your thoughts on how to formulate that for a small business?
Well, but I can understand that, where a small business thinks that their physical footprint is just confined to this, what they can see, right? But I think that there's the unseen that is felt and sensed. And as you were describing this, I was remembering a story of a UTEP professor who was, when he was being recruited to El Paso, he went into a small little restaurant. And he didn't know anybody here. He didn't, he was just here, for his interview. And he struck up a conversation with the waiter, and that waiter asked him about his family. Hook, right? So this moment stayed with this person who's now a professor at UTEP, who is now one of our biggest advocates in the community. That is the impact that bringing the values and allowing values to come out, even in a small business, does make a big impact.
It does.
But you have to start with allowing your employees to bring that genuineness, to bring themselves out, to connect with the community, because it could be literally somebody that lives across the street, or it could be somebody that came in from across the ocean for an interview. Just be your genuine self, and that connection can be big. And so I think that small businesses shouldn't see themselves as so small. Their physical footprint, and maybe the size of their employees and the size of their revenues could be categorized and defined, but really their impact, that's as big as they want it to be.
That's actually been the case for my business. Initially, my business started off locally, and because of COVID, I started to connect with individuals virtually, and my business became virtual. From that, it just expanded, and something that I had never even considered. It opened the doors. So COVID for me and my business, it opened doors. And it really, as you mentioned it, it's thinking, as a business owner, what do I need to do? Where do I need to make changes? Where do I need to adjust? And you start to open those doors of opportunity because of your way of thinking is different. And even if it pertains to a restaurant, or as the example that you just gave, I know this story that you shared.
Okay.
It's very interesting. Because he had been to other places, and no one really asked him.
Right, that's right.
The question came from here, and he said, "Oh wow, here I belong."
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's very interesting. It's having those conversations with your employees. That's part of what's evolved as well, right? You mentioned leaving your personal separate from your work. But through COVID, you have Zoom meetings, and you have a little one running across the.
That's exactly
It
right.
became real. The individuals that you work with became real, and you got to know them a little bit in a more personal level, right? Which I think is a great thing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I mean, it was interesting. It was I'm still reflecting on the impact that it had to the psyche, because it was this equalizer. You're on Zoom meetings with, I remember, pre-COVID, you have these role models in the community, and you're like, wow, this person, is the CEO of a hospital, and I wonder what that job is like and what that life is like. And then one day you're on a Zoom meeting and their child is jumping off the sofa and they were like, stop. And I'm like, she's just like me, it's not so different, and it's not so out of this world. And then you start to see them as relatable.
Right.
And I think that's where that magic happens. So for me, some of these folks that I've developed relationships with are people that I was intimidated by before, because I just thought, oh my gosh, they're in a whole different life experience and all of these things that we just cannot relate to. That's probably not the case, and even though different paths take you different places, but this really just brought us to humans, to the core, just our humanity. And then especially when you saw those people that in my mind I thought always had it together, didn't always have it together anymore. We all were struggling. We're frustrated with the same things and scared about the same things and all of these different things. So, and I think that's what I just reflect and I wonder, this, you know, some higher being just thought it was necessary at this moment, at this time. This is the reconnection you all need. So I'm wanting, I've just been fully embracing that and trying to just absorb it and take it all in and not let that opportunity pass us by, because it has been hard.
Yes.
So it's hard to embrace and welcome something dark,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
because it on the surface, it's a scary moment.
Right.
It's a scary moment in our history. But had it not been for this very scary moment, these good things wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have thought about your business differently. I wouldn't have had these conversations. So it's the silver lining, and it's embracing that struggle and learning from it and doing something with it. And that's the hard part, right?
Yes, yes,
That's the hard
yes.
part. But it's very much worth it, and it's leading us into a different world now.
Right. And we're all in this together. We're all
That's right.
this is being formed as we're living through this. COVID really has affected women disproportionately. Women were already
That's right.
struggling in the workforce, and this just really made things worse. And I bring this up because this is where my passion is, right? With women,
Right.
and the challenges that women face and overcome. We're in the middle of this for women.
That's right.
How they were affected going back into the workforce. I know a lot of, within my conversations, a lot of women are saying, well, maybe I can be home with my children. So that's taken a change, and that's also we've taken some steps back
Right.
as far as women advancing in their career. Is there anything that you would like to share on that and those thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's even pre-COVID, we looked at data and we saw just how far women are from where we should be, and how long it was going to take us to get to a certain point. And I was all in. We were all in here as an organization. Like there are things that we need to do to force the situation, and then this happens and COVID happens, and now we're even further behind. But I think that, again, the silver lining is, look at how long we've been talking about this, and it was hard to get things done and to push through. But I think now, especially now, there's this different sentiment, and almost a different demand and expectation in ourselves. And I think I'm worried in some cases for those women that don't have choices, and that's who I'm advocating for. But I am also very aware of some of the choices that some women are making,
Right.
and that's ultimately what I want. Is I do want for women to evaluate that they have different choices. It might not be the choice that I want for myself, but so long as you are fully aware and you are weighing all of those choices and options for yourself, that's really good. Let's focus on the women that don't have any options or haven't even considered options.
Right.
And let's work on opening some of those doors. One of those things is the remote work boot camps that we are doing, because this came from a conversation during working from home. Is I took working from home for granted. Yeah, I had my desk and I would work there a few hours a week when I had to, what have you. But then working there all day, every day, I was not prepared.
Right.
Mentally,
Right.
emotionally, psychologically, it just, it took me a few weeks to, what is happening here? And I took that for granted. And it took me some adjusting and some investment in,
Right.
my
Yes.
home office and things like this. And I remember having somebody over at my house, and I didn't spend any time with them that day because I was literally at my desk all day. And they said, well, how nice. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you crazy? And it was a different understanding. And I
Right.
said, you can do this. You can find a job working from home. And they said, never. I've never that's not for me.
Mm.
There's just no way. I've always worked in out in a service industry, and I just thought, that they're right. They wouldn't know how to sit here all day and do this. And I just thought that moment I felt sorry for that person, because they just felt that it was not even an option for them. It wasn't possible. Mm-hmm. And I said, we've got to help them at least learn it, and then you can pick for yourself.
Right. That option is open.
That option is open for you. If you choose,
Right.
when you choose, you can pick and choose whatever. Mm-hmm. Just have that option. And that's how the idea of the remote work boot camp came about, because I want people to know what it takes. Mm-hmm. What does this mean? Working from home. What exactly does that mean? This is what it means. Right. This is what you would do now that you have this option. This is something that you can fall back on, right? If you needed to one day, what the systems are, what some of the tips and tricks are, schedules, etc. All of the things that we had to talk about last year and working from home. Teach somebody how to do that. It is a skill. Mm-hmm. It's a skill I had to develop, this late in my career. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how we're approaching it. It's a skill that I want people to learn so that they can choose if they want to use it.
Right. Which I think is great. I was teaching one of those courses, and in my conversation with one of the participants, I asked her, what would you like to do? We just kind of, had a little vision of dreaming. Right. What would you like to do? And so she shared with me what she would like to do based on her experience and background. And it turned out that there was something available for her in her experience and what she was considering that we thought was never possible.
Right.
And she became very curious and immediately started looking into it. So there are so many opportunities out there now that we've gone virtual, that things that we might have not even thought we could do, we can do virtually.
That's right.
Based on experience, whatever it is that your experience is, it's available. You just got to dream it and look it up and find it, and you'll see it.
That's right. Just try it and attempt it, and try it again. Mm-hmm. And it's like a blank slate, a blank canvas.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Very, very good. Well, thank you so much for
this
conversation.
Has been great.
Yes, I wanted to bring light to what you shared, because I found it very, it just spoke to me, and so I thought we need to have a conversation on this, and I'm hoping that it speaks to you all, to those who are listening in. And if there's anything that you all need as far as looking for opportunities and seeing how maybe you can make changes within your life, even the possibility of working remotely, contact the Workforce Solutions Borderplex.
Right.
Did I say that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Contact them. They do have these courses available, and many others. So if there's anything that you're looking to do and make changes within your life, with your employment, definitely give them a call, because they have so many opportunities, so many programs available, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you. So any last...
No, this has been great. Thank you very much for your time and support.
Thank you all for listening in. Please remember to follow us on social media, Per Element Network. Thank you so much.